happening, right?
Yes, ma'am. 4th September for me.
Okay, what about others?
Yes, ma'am. Same.
Okay, so then I think the pressurizing things will be there, right? You have to work hard.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, not an issue. Of course, it's a part of your academic. This is your last year. You are in 12th class. After that, the college life and everything will be there. So best of luck there for this. Actually, we have few more months. So you need to pour like your 100%, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's just start. Basically, what we were doing goals of planning in India, right? So now we discussed that basically we have 4 goals: growth, modernization, self-reliance, and equity. Now, basically today we are going to do few things. Like today we are going to do these things like goals of planning in India in detail. Like what is growth, what is modernization, what is self-reliance, and what is equity. Okay. So now basically, okay. Okay, so first is growth. So, ma'am, what is growth? So, growth refers to increase in the country capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the country. Okay, so now, ma'am, what is growth? Growth refers to increase in country's capacity. For example, earlier you were producing 10 apples. Okay, now you are producing 20 apples. So, basically, your capacity to produce is increasing. That means there is a growth, right? So, growth refers to, my screen is visible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Growth refers to increase in country's capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the country. So within the country, how much you are producing. If there is an increase in production in your country, increase in production of goods and services, that means you people are growing. And if there is no increase in growth of goods and services, then that means you people are not growing. Okay. Now, growth implies like how will you judge that this is growth or not? A large stock of productive capital, okay, a large size of supportive services like transport and banking, an increase in efficiency of productive capacity, capital and services. So basically, if you want growth, first you should have large stock of productive capital. Okay, large stock of capital, you know that whatever you need in order to produce other goods, right? So there should be large stock, right? If you want to produce 1,000 books, then you should at least have hundreds of printer with you, right? So large stock of productive capital. Next, large size of supportive services. Like for example, now you are producing, but if you want growth, you have to sell that product as well. So you need transportation plus the banking. Your banking structure plus the transportation should be good. Okay. Next, increase in efficiency of productive capital and services. Like whatever you are whatever you are doing, there should be efficiency. Efficiency means that you should be utilizing your goods and resources in good way. Okay. So increase in efficiency of productive capital and services. So this is what growth is. Okay. And after that, a good indicator of economic growth is steady increase in GDP. So if you want to know about the growth, then you are not, for example, I want to know whether you are growing or not. What I will do, I will check your GDP. For example, I want to know whether there is a progress in you or not. What I will do as a student, you have your marks with you, so I will check your marks. Okay. Similarly, in an economy, if you want to check whether the country economy is growing or not, you have to check the GDP, which is gross domestic product. Okay. So GDP now, ma'am, what is GDP? GDP is the market value of all goods and services produced in a country during a year. So what is the market value? For example, I have 10 pens. I produce 10 pen and the market value of my each pen is 1 rupee. So what my GDP is, my GDP is 10 rupees. But similarly, if you produce the pen and the market value of your pen was 2 rupees, so that means your GDP is 20 rupees, right? So GDP is basically the market value. Now if I'll compare yours and mine, then what will happen? Of course, your GDP is more than mine. Right? Though you are producing 10 and I'm also producing 10, but still there is a difference in GDP. Right? So that means you are growing, but I am somewhere backward. Okay? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now first you will write growth, then you'll write growth refers to increase in country capacity to produce output of goods and services within the country. Just write it down.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Everyone is done? Mohammed Ayan,
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Mariam done? Okay. Now, basically, next you will write a good indicator of economic growth is a steady increase in GDP. Now, in bracket, you will write GDP is the market value of all goods and services produced in a country during a year. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now the question is like this is a good indicator. You can get the question like this: what is the good indicator of economic growth? So what is the good growth means? If you want to measure growth, that means you need GDP of the country. Okay. So now the question is, ma'am, why do we need GDP and from where we get GDP? Okay. You have already done. There are three sectors in an economy: agriculture sector, manufacturing sector, and the service sector. Right. So it is necessary to produce more goods and services if the people of India are to enjoy more rich and varied life. Like if you want to be rich and if you want to develop yourself, if you want to see the growth, that means you need to produce more. Okay. The GDP of a country is derived from the different sector of an economy, namely the agriculture sector, the industrial sector, which is also known as manufacturing sector, and the service sector. Okay. The contribution made by each of these sectors makes up the structural, or you can say sectoral composition of an economy. Okay. So next you will write how GDP is calculated. Okay. And what forms, write down the question, how GDP is calculated or derived, how GDP is calculated or derived, and then write, and what makes the structure sectoral composition of the economy, and what makes up the structural slash sectoral composition of the economy. Okay, I'm repeating. The GDP of a country is derived from, how do we calculate GDP of a country? Then, what makes up the structure and sectoral composition of an economy? So, from here you will write the GDP of a country is derived from the different sector of an economy, namely agriculture, industrial / you can write manufacturing sector, and last one service sector. And after that you'll write the contribution made by each of these sector makes up the structural sectoral composition of an economy. Clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, everyone is done? Yes, no, maybe. I think yes. Okay. Now the most important question which you get in your examination is this. You have to write the structure, or you can say sectoral composition of the economy. Right. So what was the structure or the sectoral composition of economy? That means how much people were there. Right. One you have done when at the eve of independence. Right. But this is something sectoral contribution in GDP 1950 to 1991. Clear? Coming to the who will explain me the sectoral distribution on the eve of independence or during colonial period? What was the, just tell, don't tell me the percentage, just tell me the highest, lowest, and the least. Anyone?
Ma'am, the highest was agriculture, and there was manufacturing sector and service sector also.
Yeah. So basically, agriculture sector was highest. Okay. And the second number was service sector, and the last was manufacturing sector. Clear? Everyone? Most of the
Yes, ma'am.
student, because in my next, I was teaching this in my previous batch. So there, when I asked this, then the question highest was fine. But everyone mentioned service sector was the least. No, service sector was on second number. Third was Your third was your manufacturing sector. Service sector was second. First agriculture, second service sector, third your manufacturing. Okay. So when we do it like this, na, agriculture, manufacturing, and service. So this is not the chronology. It's according to the percentage. So basically the percentage was 10 in manufacturing and 17 to 20, 15 to 17, 15 to 17 for manufacture, 15 to 17 for service, and 70 to 75 for agriculture. Okay, so this is the criteria. But here you will see what is happening. 1950 to 1951, basically 59, 13, and 28. Right? Again, industry was lowest. Okay. Similarly, you will see 1950 to 1951, and then 1990 to 1991. What happened? Least, number one this, number two this, and number three again was industry sector, but number one this. Got it? So I think you can see the change, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
Okay. So now how you're going to write it? So the question is sectoral, and just don't write it. I'll just explain you. Then you're going to write structural or sectoral composition of the economy during 1950 to 1991. Okay. So as country develops, now basically India got independence. So India is now developing. So as country develops, it undergoes structural change. Okay. Usually with development, the share of agriculture declines and the share of industry became dominant. At higher level, the development, the service sector contributed more to the GDP than other two sectors. See, share of industries became more than agriculture, right? But contributing to GDP. See, this is the sectoral contribution in GDP. Share is different thing and contribution to GDP is different thing, right? So basically what happens, the share of industry became dominant. At higher level of development, the service sector contributed more to GDP than other two sectors. So which sector is contributing more? Service sector is contributing more as compared to both the sectors. Okay. In India, the share of agriculture in GDP was more than 50%, as we would expect the poor country. But in 1990, the share of service sector was 40.59, which is around 50%, more than that of agriculture or industry, like what we find in the developed nation. Clear? So there is a scenario. There are two types of country. One is your developed countries and one is your underdeveloped country. So in developed country, basically industries and service sector, they contribute more, and agriculture very few people do. But in undeveloped countries, right, undeveloped country or poor country, agriculture sector is highest one, and industries and service sector are basically the lowest one. Okay, so what is written over here, that the service sector contributed more to the GDP than other two sectors. Service sector was higher, you can see, right? So contributed more. In India, the share of agriculture in GDP was more than 50%, as we would expect the poor country. So earlier it was more than 50%. You can see 1950 to 1951, it was more than 15%. And you can say, yes, India was a poor country. That's why most of the people were engaged in agriculture sector, right? But by 1990, the share of service sector was 40.59. That means something around 50. More than that of agriculture or industry, like what we find in developed nation. So earlier, agriculture sector was more. We can say, okay, India was a poor country, that's why the agriculture sector was more. But coming to 1990 and 91, the service sector contributed around 40.59, which is something 50%, right? So which was more than industry and agriculture sector. This is a scenario we usually find in developed nation. That's why we can say that India was developing. Earlier, India was poor, underdeveloped. But now we can say that India was developing. Okay. So you will give the heading structure and sectoral composition of Indian economy during 1950 to 1991. And then you will write this. And after this, you will draw the chart as well. Okay. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you want to see in exam hall, if you will draw this chart plus the pie diagram, there are high chances your examiner will be, somewhere impressed. So now how you're going to draw this as well. See, you can choose a color, maybe agriculture green color, industry red, and service blue, something like that, or it's totally up to you. You can see the highest one. You are not going to draw it exactly, but just draw it according to rough idea and mark it. And over here, just mark it that green color represent agriculture, this and this. This is for 1950 to 1951. You can see agriculture sector contributing more, right? But here you can see which sector is contributing more. Service sector is contributing more. You can clearly, you just don't need have to go through it. You can, with the help of picture itself, you can just justify or you can just make a conclusion, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yeah, so you'll write structural composition and first write it down, then I'll just scroll it down.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, everyone is done.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just wait for 1 more minute, and then I'll just share you the slides for diagram and the chart. Okay. Okay, I think everyone is done. Yes. Is there anyone who is not done? No. Emos? Yeah, I have asked you people to draw this. Are you people drawing this?
Yes, ma'am. That was the issue from my end. Sorry.
Okay. What about others? Done?
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Everyone is done? Yes, no, maybe. Mariam, Adil, Heba, Mohammed Ayan.
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Okay. So now basically we are done with growth. Now you people know what is growth, and if you want to calculate the growth, that means you need to calculate GDP. And why GDP? How will you calculate GDP? That also you know. And also you know what was the composition or the structural composition of India when like between 19 what was the ratio 1950 to 1991. Okay. Now we are done with first the growth. Now we will do modernization. We have basically four goals. Growth we are done. Now we will do modernization. Okay. So now, ma'am, what is modernization? So adoption of new technology in production of goods and services to increase the output is called modernization. Very simple. If you, for example, I have one machine. With the help of this machine, I can produce 5 pen at a time. Right? I upgraded it. Right? Now I can produce 10 pens at a time. So what I did, I adopted new technology. That is modernization. So adoption of new technology in the production of goods and services why I am adopting to increase the output is called modernization. Okay. For example, a factory can increase output by using a new type of machine. Okay, clear? So what is modernization? Basically adopting new technology, and why you are adopting a new technology to increase the output, that is known as modernization. However, modernization does not refer only to use new technology, but also to change in social outlook, such as recognition that women should have same right as men. In traditional society, women are supposed to remain at home while men work. A modern society makes use of talent of women in the workplace, in banks, factories, school, etc. And such like society is more prosperous. See, modernization is not about only adopting technology, it's about thinking as well, right? Earlier, what was happening in India, it was considered that women are a homemaker, right? And men are the workplace people, like they will be working, but women, they are going to work in home itself, right? So this was the thinking. So when modernization came, people became modern. Now both women as well as men, they are working, right? And earlier it was considered that women are going to cook, women are going to clean houses, everything related to house, women are doing. But now you can see both women and males, they do things. Females and males, they both do. Plus in workplace also, like in banking sector, factories, schools, etc. You can see both male and female are working, right? So you will write second, modernization, adaptation of new technology. This is called modernization. And then you will write, however, modernization does not only refer to use of new technology, but also to change in social outlook. Okay, clear. Okay. So it is not about only technology, it's about you also being developed. Your mind mentality is also being developed. Now you are modern. You are thinking in a modern way, not according to traditional. Clear?
Yes,
To
ma'am.
this?
Clear.
Okay. So now you'll write modernization, then till here, and after that, however, till here. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Others done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay, so let's just start. Okay, so now next thing is self-reliance. Self-reliance is basically we are dependent on all us, not on others. Okay, so a nation can promote economic growth and modernization by using its own resource or by using resources imported from other nations. See, for example, you want clothes. You have two options. Either you can produce your own clothes or you are dependent on someone else who will be producing clothes for you, right? So if you want to promote your economic growth and modernization, either you can use your own resource or you can use resources from others. Okay, now you people know we adopted 5 years plan, right? So the first 7 5-year plan, 7 means for 7 7 years, right? For 7 we adopted 5-year plan, gave importance to self-reliance. The first 7 5-year plan gives importance to self-reliance. Self-reliance means avoiding import of those goods which can be produced in India itself. So first you will write self-reliance. What is self-reliance? Self-reliance means avoiding import. Import means taking, right? So avoiding import of those goods which could be produced in India itself, which you can produce, you have to avoid it taking from others. So that is self-reliance. Okay, so the first 7-year plans give importance to self-reliance. We adopted 5-year plan. So starting first 7 5-year plan, we focused on self-reliance, that we will not purchase anything from others, we will produce it in our own country. Okay, so what is self-reliance? See, of course, we need to take few things from other country, okay, which we cannot produce. But the ones which we can produce, that why you are taking it from other one? You can produce it, so you need to produce it. So that is self-reliance. Okay. Now, this policy was considered necessary in order to reduce our dependence on foreign countries. So first, just write self-reliance and just write self-reliance means avoiding import of these goods which could be produced in India. And then the first 7 5-year plan give importance to self-reliance. Just write it and then I'll just explain. Done, students?
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now, why there is a need, like why self-reliance is important. Okay, so why the policy of self-reliance is important. So first, this policy was considered a necessity in order to reduce our dependence on foreign countries, especially for food. So why India adopted this self-reliance policy? So first, this policy was conditional because we were dependent on foreign people or foreign countries, especially for food. So in order to reduce the dependence, right, we need to adopt self-reliance policy. Second, it was feared, like we used to fear that dependence on imported food supplies, foreign technology, and foreign country may make India's sovereignty vulnerable to foreign interdependence in our policy. See what happened. For example, like you people are living in my home, okay, and whatever I'm producing, whatever I'm cooking, I'm just giving it to you people, right? So somewhere I have that confidence or I have that power that I can object you. For example, you wasted food. Okay, so I'll be objecting. You know how much hard work it takes to cook food, and now you're wasting your food like this. Or even for example, you said, I don't like this vegetable. I don't know. I want something else. I want to eat pizza instead of this chapati. So I said, I am cooking it. You have to eat it. So somewhere I am dominating you because you are dependent on me for food, right? Maybe not only for food, maybe for technology and other. So somewhere I will interfere in your matters, right? Because somewhere I'll be like, you people are dependent on me. If I will not provide you the facilities like the food, technology, and all that, you people don't have any option. So whatever I will be saying, you have to adopt it because you people are dependent on me. So that's why this was a fear. So it was a fear. It was fear that dependence on imported food supply. Imported food supply, like whatever food we are getting, imported, imported foreign technology, and imported capital. Capital is basically the machines and all that. Okay, may make India sovereignty vulnerable. Like sovereignty means we are the head. We are not dependent on anyone. Nobody else will tell us that what we have to do, right? So it is going to affect the India sovereignty to foreign like, and it will allow foreigners to interfere in our policy. Like whatever policies India is making, it will give a chance or it will get that power to the foreigners that yes, you can interfere in our policies. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you are going to give the hashtag why self-reliance policy was adopted by India. Okay. So this policy was considered necessary till here. And second, it was feared that independence of imported food in this still here. Clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. You're right.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. I think everyone is done. Okay. Now the fourth point, which is equity. Okay. So, ma'am, what is equity? First thing. So, equity means to ensure that the benefit of economic prosperity. Prosperity means whatever you are getting, right? Whatever there is an increment. Prosperity reach the poor section as well as instead of being enjoyed only by rich. So, equity means equality. Okay. So, whatever, for example, you are earning, a country is earning 10 rupees. So that 10 rupees should be divided among everyone, not only for the rich portion or the rich people, but even the poor people should get the share. Okay. So equity means to ensure that benefit of economic prosperity reach the poor section as well as poor section as well, instead of being enjoyed only by the rich. Okay. And next is why equity is important. Okay. Next you will like after writing the definition of equity, you will just give a hashtag. What hashtag you will give? You will give why equity is important. Why equity is important. Okay. So growth, modernization, and self-reliance may not improve the people's standards. See, growth, modernization, and reliance, self-reliance, they may not improve the standard of people, like the living standard, if majority of people in country are living in poverty. For example, you earn 10 rupees, right? And if this 10 rupees won't be divided among people equally, of course their standard won't be increased, right? For example, if like this 10 rupees you earned and this only the rich people enjoyed it, right? And poor people didn't get anything. So of course their standard, of course the standard of living rich people will be improved, but the standard of poor people will remain same, right? So growth, modernization, and self-reliance may not improve the people's standard of living in if majority of people in the country are living in poverty. So in addition to growth, modernization, and self-reliance, equity is important. Okay, so you are not going to write everything. You are just going to write to improve the people, to improve the people's standard of living. Equity is important. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So to improve the people's standard, why equity is important? To improve people's standard of living, equity is important. Okay. So write it down first, like fourth equity, then definition of equity, and after that hashtag why equity is important. Then to improve the people's standard of living. That's why equity is important.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, everyone is done?
Yes.
Okay, great. So next class we'll start with major in policy. But students, don't forget to revise things because theory portion is going to be very, not tough, but yeah, you have to learn a lot. So if you will learn on daily basis, because what I am doing is I'm just explaining you things, like I'm not giving you so much of homework or something. I'm just giving you only limited portion. So you need to learn on daily basis. Okay, just give yourself a target. Today I learn what are the goals. Okay, next day you will just learn what are the initiative we took in agriculture sector. So just give yourself target because you have alternative days the classes, right? So just give yourself target because you